On today's Throwback, we're going to be looking at the Marvel Legends Sentinel series, Omega Red. Omega Red, one of my favorite figures from this wave, right up there with Mr. Sinister. I don't know which one I like more. I don't know, maybe Omega Red it slightly bit more, just a slight bit. Now, Omega Red, as you can see, has already been opened because I did the initial review of him. Comes with the lower torso of Sentinel. I don't know, a case, although I've mentioned already that it's good that you can have all these extra Sentinel pieces, but a case, really, the figures, you didn't necessarily need 7 figures. You could have easily had 6 and completed the Sentinel. I think what they should have done is, if they were going to give you a 7-figure set, I probably would have given Omega Red here a head. Maybe just had the head, the upper torso as 2 separate pieces, the arms, lower torso, and the legs. Then you could have gotten all 7 figures in. Or, and I don't know if anyone would have liked this idea, what they could have also done was kept the lower legs, the arms, and the torso with all the other figures, and then have the upper torso with a Spider-Man, and have the upper torso with, I don't know, let's say just Mystique, because they usually put the bigger piece with the smaller sized character. But what I would have done was, if you wanted to do it that way, I would have had 2 different two different upper torsos. One would have been a regular Sentinel. The other one would have had a cracked damage on his chest, and half of his face would have been missing, kind of a battle damaged Sentinel. Then you could have decided whether you want a battle damaged Sentinel or if you wanted a regular Sentinel. How's that for an idea? Is that a good idea? But maybe that's what I would have done. I don't know. Having 2 lower torsos, now you got 1 torso that's just not needed. So that's a shame. But a great figure. And the back of the package shows the other figures in this wave. We've got Cyclops, we've got first appearance Spider-Man, Mystique, Omega Red, Black Panther, a favorite, Mr. Sinister, and Angel. 2 variants in this wave. Kind of a third variant, not quite an official variant, but I heard that there was a miscoloring or a different coloring on Sinister. But really only 2 official variants from this wave. The read-up on Omega Red says, the Russian mutant Arkady Rasovich was transformed into the super soldier by the KGB. But he could not control his abilities, and was placed into suspended animation. Recovered by agents of the ninja clan known as the Hand, Omega Red soon clashed with the X-Men, particularly Wolverine. Omega Red secretes an airborne toxin from his body that kills those in his immediate vicinity. Also, his arms are long coils made of carbonadium, an alloy similar to adamantium. I always found it interesting that he has an airborne toxin from his body that kills those in his immediate vicinity. I don't know if I would give him a power so final as that. I mean, that's pretty final, eh? What does he do? He secretes a toxin that kills you. I don't know, it seems too much? Is it too much? But at any rate, that's packaging on Omega Red. I've opened him once before and I really liked him. Looking forward to opening him up again and liking this figure all over again. So stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. And Omega Red comes with X-Men number 7. Clearly the work of Jim Lee there. I don't know, it doesn't look like Jim Lee's work. It almost looks like Rob Liefeld's work, but it says Jim Lee. No, it does look like Jim Lee, I guess. Rob Liefeld's really notorious for all the additional line work that they put in the faces and stuff. Those were the days, eh? When 90s comics is where it's at. And now let's have a look at Omega Red. Omega Red does come with a stand, similar to all the other Marvel Legend figures. You can mount it either on the wall, or you can have it just on the ground, or on your table. Plug it into place, and there is a hole just on the back here, right by his belt, that you can actually plug into place. And you can have him either leaping, you could have him jumping. You could have him airborne, really, is what I'm getting at. Yeah, so he does come with a display stand. I'll just move that out of the way. And, of course, as mentioned, he comes with the lower torso. I'm wondering how many of these lower torsos are in existence versus the regular Sentinel. But again, you could have it as a display piece. You could have it just on the ground, battle damaged. And I'd even throw it out there if you had no intention of ever building another Sentinel. Not ever. What I would probably do is I would take a Dremel and I'd cut these parts off and cut off the top, and I'd actually almost do some wiring, some just loose wiring coming out of, so it actually looks like it's been a severed piece of a Sentinel. I mean, obviously scale-wise, the Sentinel, much like the Galactus, is not quite to scale. I mean, this almost should be the size of one of his hands. Even his hand should be bigger than this, but obviously for the cost of plastic and the cost of what this figure would cost to purchase, probably each one of these figures would be about $50, I think, to get an actual Sentinel size. But you got an extra Sentinel piece at the end of the day. And let's have a look at Omega Red. Yeah, I gotta say, I think he is my favorite of this set. As much as I love Mr. Sinister, the Omega Red is fantastic. I'll give you guys a look at the face here. Omega Red has an iconic look to him. There's very few characters that look like Omega Red. He's so different looking, which I've always loved about Omega Red. Also, Omega Red has his tendons, or his grappling tentacles, which are on, I'll just take one out for a second, which as you can see is on a pipe cleaner. It's got the wiring frame, so you can bend it any which way you wish. The tentacles plug into his side of his forearm here. Sometimes prone to fall out, depending on how you have him on display. Some people might even prefer to have the tentacles completely off. Now I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm just going to tell you, I think the main problem with the Wolverine movie, a lot of people didn't like Wolverine, the Wolverine Origin movie, and I can tell you the reason for it, obviously, is Deadpool. They really screwed up Deadpool at the end of the movie. And you're probably wondering, Spot, where are you going with this? Aren't we looking at Omega Red? Aha! Personally, what I think they should have done, and I think they should have done right from the beginning to make much more sense, is I think I would have instead of having Deadpool at the end of the movie, I would have had Omega Red. I would have had this guy right here at the end of the movie. What they should have done was introduce the idea that the Russians were developing a monster, or even the fact that you could it would have been a collaboration, that this creature, this Omega Red creature, was being shipped from, I guess, Moscow over to here, over to the States or Canada. And I would have had Omega Red as the last bad guy in the movie. Forget the Deadpool crap and having him with, the optic blasts and teleportation and all that kind of stuff. I just would have had Omega Red. Then you could have had Sabretooth, Wolverine, and you could have had Deadpool all team up and fight this guy. And even all three of them, Omega Red, I still would have, he could have still been handing them their keisters. But that's what I would have done. Why they didn't do that, I don't know. I think that would have made for a much better movie. And I think even by that point you could have You know, maybe you could have had Deadpool damaged at the beginning of the movie. You know, he gets scarred or undergoes the testing and ends up being masked at the end. But I would have had something where, you know, it just makes sense. It makes more sense than having this made up film version of Deadpool. Just what a mess. Getting off topic, I know. Great detailing on Omega Red. I love his shoulder pads. You kind of have to keep pulling the belt down because if you don't, his pads get a little loose up top. Love the detailing in his hair. He's got the nice silver. Between the silver and the red, the coloring is really nice on him as well. In the way of his articulation, he has a lot of movement in his head. His ponytail, you can actually rotate as well. He's got the ball-jointed shoulders, which slightly hindered, not a lot, but slightly hindered by the shoulder pads. His arms also extend out by that additional piece of articulation in the chest area. You can rotate the bicep, 2 points of articulation in the elbow. You can bend the hand, which is a bit still stiff on this figure. You can bend the 4 fingers. Rotate at the waist. You can bend at the mid-torso. The legs are ball jointed. Rotate the thigh. Bend the knees at 2 points. You can rotate, I think, the calf. It looks like, yeah, there we go. Rotate the calf. You can swivel the foot, bend it up and down, and you can also bend the foot. This Omega Red is a must to pick up. It's almost a shame that they haven't released Omega Red in a Marvel Select line, kind of like what they're going to be doing with the Juggernaut, because I think this is a great figure that should be looked at again. He's mildly loose on this figure, on mine at least, right around the leg area, but still a decent figure and one of my favorites from this set. For that reason, Omega Red here, he's going to get a 9. He's getting a 9. A great figure. Again, one of my favorites. I know I've mentioned this already a couple of times, but one of my favorites. That was a toy spot. Today we're looking at, and it wasn't just a toy spot even, it was a throwback on the Marvel Select, or the Marvel Legends Sentinel series. Today we're looking at the man himself. We're looking at Omega Red. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for many more toy spots. Later.